Suck it long, suck it hard.
And we're going.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, trophy hunters of all ages. This is the 23rd episode of the Raw Cuts Gaming Podcast.
Do it! Get some!
I'm your host tonight, CJ, a.k.a. the Solo Gamer, a.k.a. the Trophy Hunter. Joined as always by Mr. Clothing Option himself. He's definitely not a noob. Big D, a.k.a. Naked Gamer.
Woo!
AKA Mr. Block Report.
Mr. Block Report.
A.k.a. Mr. Block Report. I learned that trick from him. And
That's
Mr.
right.
Teabagging. I learned that trick from him, too.
Oh, fucking love teabagging.
Oh, come on, CJ. That wasn't the first time you found out about the teabag.
I was over at Dee's house, and he was playing, what was it, Destiny, I think. And he started, doing the teabagging move. I'm like, are you teabagging that guy? I was floored when I first saw that move.
Fucking love it.
Yeah.
That's my go-to.
Nothing
It lets
gets CJ
people-
more excited than a good teabag.
Dude,
Yeah.
it really lets people know that I've been gaming in first-person shooters for a long time. That's really an old-school move.
And how long I haven't been. That's, it kind of dates me there, too. So you might have heard him, but, we're always joined by the hot-taking, Twitter beef-making, gamer mediocre himself, Woodsy, a.k.a. the man.
Boom, boom, boom.
And as you can see, apparently this works now on my Skype, so you won't have to stare at my bland wooden lawyer's paneling anymore.
And your broken door.
And my broken door that I definitely didn't put a fist through that one time.
Was that the Fail
All right.
Mary?
So, we thank you, the listener, for tuning into all the rarest takes in the gaming podcast here.
Oh, boy.
As always, we will bring you our own unique takes on all things video games, all while recording and publishing our episodes edit-free, as you can tell by my misspeaking there. We bring you our podcast via all the listening staples every Tuesday. You can catch the show on Apple, Spotify, Google, Pocket Cast, Breaker, and Radio Public and Anchor. And fuck you, Ryan, we're not putting it on Stitcher.
Yeah, that's right. No one
Oh, we
wants
put it on Stitcher. We're not putting it on Stitcher. I'm so confused.
It's my axe to grind with Ryan. If you'd like to see our ugly mugs for whatever reason, you can watch the show via our YouTube channel, the Raw Cuts Gaming channel. And so yeah. Oh, holy shit.
Ho!
Whoa!
So
What?
It's going down tonight, boys. Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm sorry, everyone. These guys can just first see my video because it turns out I have two webcams. So
I
I'm
think
finally able
what
to
we
share.
need to really do here, take a moment to start our GoFundMe, because Dean needs dollar tips.
It's true.
Send him your dollar tips.
If anyone could send me money for Christmas, that'd be great.
Right.
Can't afford a shirt.
So if you're an audio-only listener, what we're seeing right now is we got Woodsy, a.k.a. the Mav, rocking his nice Green Bay Packer hoodie, looking so slexy in that thing. You got me, the Solo Gamer, rocking my Giannis jersey in honor of the Bucks, Giannis. And for the first time, we have Santa D on the line here with his Santa hat and no shirt, and he's flexing them sexy pecs right now. So, I know you may be listening to the audio podcast, but whatever you're doing, stop right now.
Sucks to suck if you are. That's all I got to
Check
say.
this out, because this is a special treat.
Ow!
It's
Ow!
Christmas week.
Merry
and
Christmas.
Dee's delivering the goods.
Yeah.
I'm liking it. We got to make this a thing. I am the naked gamer. So
Yeah.
maybe I just need a different selection of hats.
That's a good idea. I'm like where this is headed.
Well,
So,
what I would really like to see is you just back up about 10 feet, and then
that's your
you
camera.
You have a black bar, just a little black bar.
there's nothing little about that black bar. It's gonna be a
It
big
needs a
old
real big one, like this one.
So this week, as always, we'll be getting into what we've been playing this week, the week in gaming. Trophy time, we'll touch on Astro's Playroom a little bit. I platinumed that game and keep kind of coming back to it. My daughter loves playing that game, so I thought I'd kind of cover the trophies there, my thoughts on that game, and maybe touch on some Pile o' Shame updates.
Ooh, yeah. It's true.
So, that all being said, Big D, what have you been playing?
Oh, man. Small list this week. Mostly GTA Online with you guys, which we'll dig into in a bit. It's actually it's on deck for a mini rant that we'll all participate in as we all have input. And Ghost of Tsushima. I've been doing 2-player mode with Woods. I did some with Dustin. I did some with Ryan this afternoon. And then I've been cranking down on the story mode. So gonna have to agree with Woods so far. It's been compelling. They don't let you skip anything, so you're kind of forced to know what the story is going on. But it has been compelling and interesting and everything. And the gameplay's fun and challenging, even on normal mode. You really got to place your bow shots and limited ammo and all sorts of other good stuff. So I've been definitely enjoying that.
Woodsy, what you been playing?
I've actually had a pretty filled gaming week, I should say. I was going through my recently played here, which is Sniper Elite 3, Grand Theft Auto Online, Rocket League, but predominantly I've been playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto Online, Ghost of Tsushima, the online mode pretty much exclusively. But then also hop back in to some old Giannis covered NBA 2K19.
Oh,
got a few dubs in there and took one big L to D last night.
That dude must still be playing his games on rookie. I hopped right in and I jumped out to about a 20-6 lead.
I can't.
Wow.
I suck at like the control all player mode of that game, as I'm only ever used to playing as my player. So I don't know what to do. all the like floor,
the floor general
everything's
stuff, yeah.
Totally fucking different, and like it's just like I get my hands on the controller and I'm just like
I don't know what to do
with my hands. So
yeah, and conversely I got really good at stealing,
right,
and so I just go and snatch the ball.
Or foul. One of two things happens.
It's one of the two.
It's a foul, or he steals the ball.
And most of the times the foul will be when you're doing a breakaway anyway, so then it disrupts the game. So it all works out.
But yeah. So that's what I've been playing. Siege?
Nice. So I finally popped the Demon Souls Platinum.
Whoa!
Hallelujah!
I
Praise
think,
the Lord.
Oh,
it took me about a month to platinum it. And of that, it took me to platinum the game. You have to beat the game. You have to beat it again, and then go at least like 3/4 the way through it a third time just to get all the
Demon Souls games beat you.
Well, so it took me almost that full month to beat the game once and be very thorough and get everything I needed in that first playthrough, and then it took me about a week to beat it 1.5 more times. But the difficulty spike, like I mentioned last week, it ramps up quite rapidly in those New Game Plus. But pop the platinum, so I closed that door. I'm probably going to roll another character to help my brother out because he was struggling mightily with it because I was kind of end game level of the first playthrough, and he was just starting out. So I was kind of getting a guided tour before, and now I have to kind of roll a new character to play with him. But so Demon Souls is now done. Platinum number 50 for me. It's another milestone platinum for me. I was pretty stoked about that. Like Dee mentioned, GTA Online with these two chuckleheads. I booted up Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remastered. Started playing through the warehouse in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1. However, I did some major crash and burns in that game, man. It's just like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it was playing it after drinking during the Packer game and what, but also me sucking. I could not control Tony Hawk on his skateboard, man.
I feel like it is harder to like land tricks in that game than it was in the first game, but I feel like also I think it's because like, I assume you started with a created character?
No, I just started with like generic. I was just like clicking X till I could start skating, and then I was skating. So I was in not a great condition to be playing that game. But yeah, I mean, it took a little while. I played it again on Sunday for just a little bit and was doing significantly better, but still like, not quite landing all the tricks. Just getting used to like, not landing halfway on your board and whatnot. So, but yeah, that was kind of fun to play through, man. It was just kind of reminiscing about playing that game back in the day. So
Right.
I'll probably just kind of have that in like the slight rotation of just every now and then hop in, run some skateboarding and whatnot, and then hop out. So yeah. And then I also booted up Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Oh boy.
I started that after I was playing.
We have out of CJ for another month and a half.
No, that game, from what I've heard, it takes about 10 hours to plat. But I was in no great condition to play it either. But from what I do remember of playing it, it was pretty fun. So yeah, I'm anxious to boot that back up. That game I can play around the kids, and unlike Demon Souls.
True.
And the kids have been watching this old Spider-Man cartoon on like old Spider-Man cartoon.
Oh,
on,
like the original?
Yeah.
Nice. Have they watched the Spider-Verse?
Oh yeah. They watch. Yeah. They watch us not out of that. So I just like we pulled up Disney Plus and they tracked down Spider-Man. So Hannah's been like binge watching it lately. So she's all stoked to see the Spider-Man and see him swinging through in the game. So yeah. So looking forward to playing some more Spider-Man. So yeah. So that's what I've been playing this week. So let's get into the news. CD Projekt Red. As it comes to a surprise of no one, is the headliner of our news front this week. They have had a week from hell, mostly on their own doing. So we'll kind of cover a lot of what happened there. But let's start off here. Sony pulled the game from the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, that's kind of unprecedented for AAA.
Yeah, have you ever like? I mean, I've seen it happen, but like these little single A games, these little bullshit games. But a triple A game, have you ever seen that, D?
I was trying to rack my brain earlier on if something like major had ever gotten pulled, and I couldn't think of one. Woods, could you? I couldn't think of a single time this has happened.
Not for these types of circumstances. Games have gotten pulled previously for, being like sneaking through the approval with being like inappropriate or whatever.
Sure.
But
yeah.
And then other games just like, they're ending their online stuff, so they're no longer selling them, or licensing issues, or this, that, the other thing. But nothing for such as this. So, I mean, Sony has offered like refunds on other games before.
Yep.
That have come out and
like No Man's Sky was probably the last one I could think of.
Right, that was
but
the
they
one
didn't yank it.
They did not yank it. So,
yeah, because I remember last week we were talking if they were fucked or not, and I remember I was the only one in that camp, and I'm still in that camp. I think this is bad. They lost 30% of their stock value over the last week. Yes, that might bounce back, but that was pretty insane. And they're facing multiple class action lawsuits, basically.
Potentially.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They're in discussions. Nothing's been filed, but it's for misrepresentation for financial gain, which my guess would be somewhere in the ballpark of false advertising. Right? This game is done. It's worth your $70. Come buy it, and it's nowhere near done.
Well, and it's to be clear too. I mean, the current gen versions, Xbox Series and PS5, have not been without their faults and problems, but nowhere near to the extent of last gen. Well, and that's really what these lawsuits will be about. Potentially is a misrepresentation of what the product was going to be on the PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah. Because you have an expectation as the consumer that the game is finished when you pay $70 for it.
Well, not necessarily finished, because
I mean, you can play
not
it.
not an alpha.
Right.
Correct. Right. But just to be clear too, that the game you're playing on the current gens is the backwards compatible version of it. It's not the next gen versions of it yet. Right. That hasn't been released. It's not good, man. They've shown screenshots of it, and even some of the higher end PC images and stuff don't look great. Right. Like some of it looks okay, but other someone had like a side by side screenshot. I can't source it right now, unfortunately, but had a side by side screenshot of a PC screenshot from Cyberpunk, right, and a Death Stranding image from a PS4 Pro, and it's just like.
There's been a lot of apologists who have come out of the woodwork for this game, and I don't understand why. I don't know. I mean, there's people who made the argument, oh, well, they're doing a lot more with NPCs on the screen, and I'm just like, dude, have you seen like what Assassin's Creed looks like, or like fucking DayZ? With you got the zombie hordes coming at you and all this other bullshit. It's
So
yeah.
the main
like,
question is, did they learn their lesson? Because from in my
No.
reading, Witcher 3 kind of went through this, not to the same extent. The original Witcher did. Like, a lot of their projects end up like this because they rush them out. Is this finally the one where they finally get their shit together and release stuff that's not a shit show upon release? Like you said, finished is the wrong word.
Well, I mean,
but,
they said
ready
they
for
made,
release. How about that for a term?
they made their money back on the entire game of development, marketing, and everything, and
The
it was
first day,
profitable. First day on the PC version alone.
Well, I haven't seen any
So-
updates on that since they've had to give back money and since their stock fell. So
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out, because they didn't really give back any money, right? And this is one interesting conundrum about this whole ordeal that makes me speculate, like, why Sony took the nuclear option now with this game. And Cyberpunk was directing people, like, or CD Projekt Red was directing consumers who weren't happy with it for Xbox One and PlayStation 4 to seek out Microsoft customer support and PlayStation customer support to get refunds. Well, Sony has a pretty hardline policy of, as I have found out in the past, about such things. And they didn't agree to this with CJ Projekt Red.
Oh,
So
boy.
Sony was basically saying, no. And CJ Projekt Red then, like, it went from CJ Projekt Red telling people to go request money back from Sony, alluding to, like, Sony had agreed to do this. Sony apparently hadn't agreed to do this. For telling people no. And then CJ Projekt Red going to people and be like, so we would advise you not to ask for refunds from Sony now. To people being like, okay, so what recourse do we have? And then Sony just dropping the nuke bomb on them. So it's a weird timeline from that perspective, and I wonder if, like, I don't know, I don't understand Sony's move, like, entirely, but I ultimately think it's the right move. I think it was made too late, but and now it sounds like you are going to be able to get refunds and everything since they've delisted it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, they have a site you can go to
Right.
to get a refund. I just don't think they want to change your refund policy, right?
Right.
Like, Microsoft has a different refund policy. It's not as stringent as Sony's, or something like if you play X number of times or something,
Right.
or days. Sony is basically if you install the game and play it at all, you're SOL.
Yeah.
So I think they didn't want to change their refund policy at all.
Right.
So it calls into question Sony's refund policy a bit. Steam has this whole, like, 10-hour play.
Yeah.
But this might push Sony to need to reevaluate their refund policy. One of the interesting things
Which
I
they
saw,
should do.
They should definitely do.
well, I mean, there's stupid things like you and I ran into, was like where we bought games digitally, and neither of us bought this game, the deluxe edition, and we decided, well, hey, I'd like to go and give the extra money to buy this deluxe edition, and there's literally nothing you can do. I ran into that Demon Souls, you ran into with Tony Hawk, and there's nothing you can do. It's a digital deluxe edition, so you can't even buy the stupid physical disc and to any way about it. So
Yeah, if they want to start trending towards being digital only, they need to figure some of that shit out and have better consumer policies.
yeah, bingo, exactly. But one of the interesting things I saw was they basically passed this game through without going through certification. And I've heard kind of the KFGD guys talk about it a bit, where they're saying basically that it's one of these unwritten secrets in the industry that games can go through. The bigger publishers can push games through without certification. And
So that's a big lot to do about nothing, from what I've heard, though.
awesome.
There was a guy who, like a developer in the industry, who just went on this rant that was then passed around by a bunch of other publications about why this is such a misnomer. So, what's that called? It's basically the platform checkout, right? So what they are testing for isn't bugs in the game itself. It's, does the game fuck up your system? Does it break your system? Does it have
does it unlock an exploit
restarts? Does it like all of a sudden switch off your ISP? Does it accidentally delete your friends list? Like these major things, and it's really about how it affects the system and the firmware of the system. It's not about necessarily the game itself.
That makes a lot of sense.
When they're doing this checkout, right? You know, they're one person does this thing and the other person does this thing. You may never have two instances of the same thing. I'm sure they have like a general regression test that they do for said checkout, but you know, it's not like they're doing thorough testing on every aspect of the game to see at what point during that game it's going to fuck up your console, right? So it's not on Sony for letting them skirt this bullshit. Because, like you said, they do it for other games, and it's been a misleading thing that's been going around.
That someone okayed it.
Yeah, and they did.
That's Sony.
They did, but it's not like Sony okayed all of the problems with the game. Like,
yeah, they okayed it that it wouldn't brick your PlayStation. Yeah,
right.
Interesting. Yeah, so another thing to be careful of, though, you know, and this might, you know, come to that a bit, is if your file size gets too big, it can become corrupted more than 8 megabytes or something. They can corrupt the file completely, and you're basically shut out of luck. And where your file size can get bigger and bigger if you do a bunch of crafting and things and have a bunch of items in your storage and things like that, that's when your file size gets, you know, too big and gets corrupted. So be wary of how much shit you're making in the game, I guess.
For right now.
Yeah, another kind of, you know, black eye on CD Projekt Red as a whole, not necessarily to do with Cyberpunk, but do you guys see they had to pull one of their games from GOG? It's a game called Devotion. It's a horror game. And what happened in there is the developers had some reference to the Chinese president looking like or being like Winnie the Pooh.
Right.
So there was this whole big backlash from China, this political pressure for them to pull it. They pulled it and they apologized and said, "Hey, we were sorry to do this." But
we're sorry.
Yeah, but enough political pressure got put on from China that they needed to delist this game essentially. So they did, and everyone is you know, up in arms with them bending to the knee of China. So
yeah, fuck China.
So yeah, so rough week all around for the old CD Projekt Red. Anything else you guys have to say about Cyberpunk at all before we move off them for the week?
Nope.
Get your shit together, I guess. I mean, not that they don't know right now. I'm beating a dead horse, so I guess no point.
Yeah, I mean, it was you know, it was a self-published game. I think The Witcher went through WB Games, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm wondering if them trying to self-publish and not having the right management and, you know, having the whole process mismanaged, you know, really led to a lot of their problems.
Yeah.
If they could have.
One thing I wonder too with this game is, as Dee alluded to, their stock price tanked, and you know their potential litigation is upcoming and all that other jive. But I wonder how this is going to affect this game long term, because this game isn't dead. It's not, you know.
No, it'll come back.
I was getting nines out of the.
It's going to come back, and then there's going to be the PS5 and Xbox Series X upgraded versions of it that are going to be free for the people who have already purchased it, and God knows they had all sorts of DLC plans with this, or had them, or have them, or whatever the case may be. And what are they going to do with that stuff now? And then you have, there was also talks about the PS5, the free PS5 and Xbox Series X upgrades for The Witcher 3. So what's going to happen with that? Is that going to get pushed down the line? Is that ever going to actually happen now that they're in this big kerfuffle with this game? and have to now dig themselves out of a very, very big hole. Will they give out this DLC that they were going to sell, at least some of it for free, to try to win back hearts and minds and some of the reputation? It'll be interesting to see how this all unravels in the months ahead, because it's far from finished, this tale.
Well, they also had the multiplayer, because they said this game all along was going to be single player, and then they talked about maybe doing some multiplayer down the road. Now it's just going to have that can kicked further and further down, it sounds like. So.
Yep.
So yeah, so some other news. Doug Bowser did a recent interview with Polygon and said that Nintendo has no intentions on releasing a Switch Pro anytime soon. Sales have been pretty strong for the console, so it sounds like they're not looking forward to making any Switch Pro adjustments. You guys see the news at all, Woodsy?
Ask D about this first, because
you got the sound machine going.
Well, here we go.
Let me
tell you. I don't believe you.
I do know that you were looking into getting a Switch or have a line on a Switch.
It's in my other room.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a Gen 1 for then like 5 games for like $400. It was a good deal.
Yeah, no, that was a good deal. So it sounds like you made. I mean, not that you're buying a Switch for the power anyway, but it sounds like there's no new upgrades coming anytime soon. So it sounds like you have to.
Do you think that that's true, and that he's just saying that so as not to stall the ongoing console sales?
I don't think Nintendo's ever been about power and performance. And, they've still been selling plenty of units. So a lot of the rumors were that, at least what I was hearing, that Switches were going to the Pros would be coming late spring, early summer, like mid-year next year. Nintendo was one of those people that companies that said that, hey, we're not great for working remotely, distantly. They're not exactly churning things out either. So I tend to believe it. I think there will be a Switch Pro at some point. They can get rid of the bevel on the screen and add some power to it and make it at least 1080 even or whatever.
Bigger battery, all that other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's not true now, but I don't foresee one in the next year at least.
Yeah, I guess maybe not in the next year. Maybe everything really has bogged down, but I think some of the pressure is starting to mount because they're still selling units. But I think a lot of those unit sales for the Switch have been serendipitous with COVID. To be quite honest, as terrible as COVID has been, right? But a lot of parents ran out and got their kids a Switch, which is why they've been hard to come by. Yep. But part of this promise of the Switch, has always been, you may not be able to play the flashiest, nicest, best looking version of, the third party titles, but you're still going to be able to play them. So Doom and Witcher 3 and some of those other sort of games, right? You've been able to play those on the Switch. Well, now the generational transition is happening to go to the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, and you're seeing the most recent Doom game, the Switch port of that apparently was just fucking garbage. And I think that's only going to continue to be a trend where either these ports of what were games that were getting supported third party on the Switch, they're going to lose that. They're going to start to lose that, and I think it's going to be less gradual than they want it to be. And I think it's going to force their hand at some point. I mean, you could come out with another Mario Party and Zelda, 2 and Mario 85
and whatever,
right?
Yeah.
But
I think they're at a crossroads, really. So I think the reason that they don't have news on a Pro is because they're weighing being in hardware altogether. So like Woods brought up, why are we trying to keep up with all these, with basically Sony and Microsoft on hardware? It's fucking stupid. They have their own IPs for their things, and if they figured out how to license those IPs properly on both mobile and existing hardware, they don't have the niche anymore like they had with Wii. I mean, the Switch is nice and it's got that portability thing, but in actuality, if you flip between your phone and your console, is there really a giant difference there? Especially if
I
I
don't
can
know.
take a
I
Pro
don't.
controller and pair it to my phone. Is there really a
I don't
difference?
personally think they're going to get out of that game.
Why?
I mean,
We
the
know
Switch.
that doesn't make them money on the
No, it
hardware.
does make them
I think
money.
it
They've
makes
The
never
hardware?
once sold that console for a loss.
Yes, they have,
Yeah.
but it doesn't
No,
make
they
them.
haven't.
Hardware doesn't make a ton of money.
But it's still, especially but 3 years into the life cycle, when they never once sold it for a loss, they're sure making money on it now.
Yes, but
So
it's not a ton. They
Right.
make the most money off the software, which is
Well,
why everyone's moving that way. And so I'm just saying that they're weighing it. I don't know which way they're going to go. I mean, they might extend and do a Switch Pro and all this other shit. I'm just saying they're evaluating if it's worth it to keep jumping into that battle with Sony and Microsoft on the hardware side.
I think they're fighting their own fight, man. I've said this in the past where, each of these consoles has their own niche, and I think Nintendo is perfectly fine selling their Marios and Links and Samuses of the world. And I could see them going the other direction. And like you mentioned, Woodsy, like they're not going to be able to keep up with these games that are coming out on
Right.
Sony and Microsoft. So I think you're going to see less and less of these third-party games just because they don't want to, because if you're going to buy a
That's a
Nintendo
good
console
point.
that's going to be able to run one of these games decently, that console is going to be,
well,
crazy.
and this shit with Cyberpunk is only going to deter people from wanting to put out less than stellar ports.
Right, exactly. I mean, look at the Witcher port. I mean, I heard that game runs like shit on there, and that's 2016 or whenever that game came out.
That's a good point, Siege. They may
So I
just
think
say
that they
fuck
may
it
just-
to the third party and just
And you'll still see ones trickle out. Like you'll see them put a gimped version of 2K or something or whatever the hell they'll put out. But I can just see them less and less going third party and just more and more into their own. But now
I
they
can
don't
see
exactly churn games out very fast. We haven't seen anything new from Nintendo, but they just dropped Animal Crossing and it was like the highest selling game. So the
Well,
attach
and
rates
and that one like Dynasty Warriors
yeah, and you'll see shit like that on there. But like
Link Zelda game got.
Well, we're not going to
favorite
see,
reviews, but
we're not going to see Assassin's Creed Valhalla running on a Switch.
Right.
It's going to be.
Well, and that's kind of where my point floats into, because if you think just from a corporate perspective, I mean, there's people around that are figuring out the hardware and doing all this shit and all that shit you're talking about, CJ. How do I get these third-party games on there? That all costs money for Nintendo, and to your point on the life cycle development of the games, that could all be boosted if they stopped worrying about that shit. I have my Nintendo ecosystem. That's all you get. You aren't playing Witcher 3 in my Nintendo ecosystem, but we're going to focus on getting content out faster. Because I think you could have a good decision there.
But
They don't come out with shit very fast.
No, I know they're not at all. But when they do it, the attach rate is extremely high. So
That's true.
So yeah, I guess another thing that they are interested in doing, though, I don't know if you guys saw this, but they had a little Nintendo Direct, and they took us on a tour of what was it, Mario World in Universal Studios Japan. Did you guys see that the Mario World in Japan at all, or no?
yeah. It looks cool. Apparently, it's really small though.
Yeah, that's kind of
Oh,
what I
was it?
gathered from the tour of it. But
Yeah.
I thought it
I
looked
didn't see
awesome,
the
too.
tour,
Like,
but we talked about it the other week.
yeah, they have some interactivity and all these things. So I think it'd be fun to visit. Although, opening a theme park area during a pandemic your timing isn't exactly the best right now. But it sounds like they do have plans to bring that elsewhere too. It's only in Japan, but it sounds like it'll be coming stateside at some point. So
I just did a little digging. So right now, the Switch, from a hardware perspective, is on pace to potentially outsell the PlayStation 2,
really,
which
Nice.
would mean it also outsold the Wii. Or I'm sorry, not the PlayStation 2. It was potentially outsell the Wii, and then potentially outsell the PS4 in units. And the PS4 is what the second most to the PS2,
PS2,
right?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
if
PS2, I
you
think
don't
PS
include the DS.
If you don't include the whole like suite of DSs, yeah, correct.
And this financial article back from 2017 when it came out, they estimated at that point that Nintendo was making like a 15% profit on every unit sold. So when it came out, so that's a pretty good profit margin on that product, especially if you're going to sell over $100 million or 100 million units. I mean, that's not money any company is going to walk away from.
Nope.
Yeah. So
$3 billion.
yeah, selling things like hotcakes, man. So in other console news, did you guys see this? I just caught this before we hopped on the call here, but it looks like Sony might be discontinuing the PS4 Pro. There was an article came out that someone noticed that on the PlayStation Store said that they're out of stock right now and have no intentions on restocking it. So it looks like they may be redirecting all their efforts into making PS5s.
Makes sense.
Well, it doesn't make sense to buy a PS4 Pro from a price standpoint anymore, because I don't.
What do they want for that?
I mean, I imagine is it the same as a PS5?
Well, I'm assuming it dropped a little. Is it 350?
Maybe
or something like
the slim or whatever.
It's hard to say though now because you
They're all-
can't find
you can't buy one.
I think they were selling them for 400.
Yeah.
And I think the PS4 is still selling for like 250 or 3.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense
there.
at all for it to exist because you're just. I mean, it's a product that doesn't have a price point that makes sense anymore.
Correct.
You're not gonna sell it for the same price as you're selling your PS5 digital edition, and if you don't have the money to upgrade to a PS5, you're just gonna get the regular PS4 for 200 or 300 or whatever they're gonna sell it for.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So what do you guys think about these half-step console leaps? Because the PS4 was that. It had a couple good years out of it. When did the Pro start coming out? Was it 18 or 17?
It was one of those.
I mean, it's been only the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
And then,
So I think the problem with that one was it came way too late in the life cycle because everyone was already talking about when the next one's coming out. Like it didn't come soon enough.
well, it kind of, it was what 3 or 4 years after the base version launched, and then they launched this one, and it was. I mean, I didn't have a Pro. You're the only one of us that had the Pro, correct? You didn't have a Pro.
Nope, I did not.
I
didn't see the point.
So it came out on it came out in fall of 2016. So just 4 years.
So a year earlier than I thought.
4 years
right in the middle.
after the original OG launched, I believe.
Yeah. So right in the middle. So, what do you guys think of these modular updates? Are you in favor of them or?
I will say if the PS4 Pro or the PS5 Pro isn't really an upgrade again, not an upgrade. It's not. I wouldn't buy the PS4 Pro, that sort of situation, if I could do it again, I guess. And the only reason I did was because there was an insane deal on eBay for the PS4 Pro. I remember getting it, and then they had like some 20% off digital code any purchase. So I got the PS4 Pro for like $340. Or no, it was like $320. Sorry. And my brother bought my PS4 for like $220 or something like that. So I upgraded to a Pro for $100. And for that, it was worth it. But like individually, no, because it didn't offer anything substantial. Like I wasn't like able to download shit faster or install it to my hard drive faster, or it was just slight visual upgrades. The HDR, and it wasn't
that's
if
some
you're
of the
going to do a
shit
half
they need
step,
to
do a
iron
better
out.
one.
Yeah, because we went through it at length on the show, right, on bus speed and all that stuff with hard drives and all that. Like that PS4 Pro I mean, you should have had way better USB drives, ports on the outside. You should have had way faster bus speeds internally. I mean, that thing should have had a bunch of advantages to justify its existence, and it just didn't. So, like, I would actually be more in favor, because they get so wrapped around the axle on keeping shit at $500. When the PC market is, for a decent one, you're still at 12 or $1,500. I would still rather see some sort of mega version that's $600 or $700 or $800 that has twice the graphical capability, twice the CPU, a shitload more hard drive space. Like, and it's
then are you fucking yourself out of the start of the next generation? At
Why?
what point? At what point is it a bridge too far? I guess.
Well, you'd be running the same OS and you'd be developing on the same platform. It would just be one could run shit a lot higher. So it'd be exactly what they're trying to set up with the Pro. It's you would have the mega version that I paid more for, so I can run my games at 120 FPS versus 60 on the base console. Like, it's what they're trying to do with the cheap ass version in Xbox. I have this one that doesn't have as much graphics in it. Well, I wish that they would just do it the other way. Like, here's the one, it's $400, it's going to do everything, it's going to be great. However, if you want to pay an extra $300 or $400, we stuffed twice the graphics card in it, twice the RAM, twice the CPU, and the thing will just fucking blow stuff out of the water if you want to do it that way. But it's $800, and you know what?
So, but if they come out with those two SKUs from the jump,
yeah,
would they ever do a half step?
Well, I would think that you would justify not doing one at that point because you wouldn't need one.
Sure.
Because you would just, during that whole life cycle, the prices creep down, right? So at some point, you would jump on some sort of sale for the mega version, where it'd be $550 or $500 on mega sale, like 3/4 of the way through the life cycle, and it would be awesome.
Right.
So I think they have a good idea. I just think it could be executed in a different way that makes more sense.
Well, so I think it's interesting because you know who the half step during the half generation is good for, though, like as a consumer market, the non-early adopter market, because they already know that mid step is coming, so they'll just wait, and then they'll pick it up, and you're going to guarantee they're going to buy it right then and there, and then they're going to spend the next 10 years going through all the backlog of that system that they haven't yet been able to experience. So it's interesting because I think there is a place for both types, but it's odd. It's just an odd thing. It's odd. I don't mind it. There's obviously a market for it.
Right.
So,
right.
Well, they're trying to create one.
Yeah. Well, Exhibit A of that, like.
Well, yeah, but they didn't get a bunch of money out of you for. Well, I guess they got it out of the first guy.
Yeah.
Out of someone, yeah.
But not you.
all the collector's editions were all pros. You know, all the Spider-Man was a pro, and everyone, so. Yeah. So, Epic looks like it's going to be making a run at the software distribution platform. D, what'd you see on that?
So, on the Epic Store, you can now buy Spotify. It's their first big partnership with something not a game, right? And so, in reading through a bunch of stuff on what they're trying to do, it's actually kind of where I was going with my Nintendo
you can buy
thought.
Spotify?
Oh, sorry, not
you
buy
can
it. You can download it and run it through your Epic account, yeah. But basically, they're positioning themselves to rival Google and Apple Play stores. Is kind of the direction they want to go. They want to compete there, so that you can just have your Epic app and then all your shit will load in there. So including Spotify and all that other stuff. So
yeah,
and that's kind of where I was going with Nintendo. Like that kind of model. If they chose to do it, I don't think I'd fault them for it. Here's your ecosystem. We control all of our own IP. You pay your own money in here. I don't pay any shit to Apple or Android taking a cut of my money for my in-store apps. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get it.
Well, I could see Nintendo going that route because, they wouldn't be selling necessarily competing product, but like, as is the case with like the playing your Xbox whatever thing from your iPhone we were talking about the other week, right? You can only do it through the browser, so there's not a native app to do it with.
Right.
So, like I wonder where, like, what their game plan is, like Epic's, because
Yep. They're missing the middle step.
Google's not going to allow it on Android phones. iPhone's certainly not going to allow it on Apple phones.
Yep.
So
yeah, you still have that South Park problem. Step 2 is question mark.
Right. what exactly is your angle here? I guess is
Step 3, profit.
Yeah. So I mean, and then it's like, what is it? Why? Who cares if they have their own app store on PC? That no one gives a fuck. Like
right.
if I can't take it with me and have it function,
it's useless.
Then
super agree. And I think that's where you'll see shit get ironed out, and I think a lot is going to depend on that Epic lawsuit. So basically, they have both Google and Apple in court arguing on the behalf of the developer, saying that they're locking them out of those different ecosystems by forcing them to give up 30% of their money.
Dude, that trial, that fucking thing is going to be in like appeals court hell forever, though. Yeah, even if it gets done in the next year, like that thing will never be. That thing will be settled 8 years from now. We'll read about it randomly one day and be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that shit."
Well, yeah. Well, and again,
it's episode 295.
Yeah.
Well, and it's all going to depend on which way the courts lean as it goes through there, right? Because I mean, to your point, if Apple and Google are winning those. And everything gets denied from Epic's side, then yes, it'll just get buried and we'll never hear about it. But if Epic wins certain pieces and gets injunctions for Apple and Google to stop charging money, all of a sudden that shit's going to get heard like tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep. And that'll be an interesting situation because then Apple and Google will have to go running to the U.S. government for help. The same U.S. government that currently wants to sue them and break them up.
Right.
See how well that works out for you.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to get much help there. So.
Yeah.
Another just kind of PSA for you people out there. Epic is running a free game a day, I think it is. So today, if you're watching live, it's Alien Isolation. So do your rounds, claim your free games. I'm never intend on playing PC games. However, in the offhand chance that I do one day, I just
stack
that pile. So go claim your free shit at Big Store. It's
nice.
A few clicks, then you get a free game. So Alien Isolation, if you are interested in that. So now we alluded to it earlier, and we've been playing a bunch of GTA Online, or at least some, doing the heist. Chipping away at it.
We put a bunch of hours in.
We sure did. So that being said, mini rant D. Why don't you take it away?
Gotta be careful. We're gonna get too angry. So
go blow some shit up on GTA instead.
Oh my god, I know. That's the fun part, right? Well, that's actually part of the rant, right?
All right, I'll let you go.
GTA.
Take it away.
All right, so we as a group, so between us and our friend Fuck You Ryan. We put in, guys. What would you think? Did we get?
We put in 3 nights,
5, 6?
Like three straight nights. We played quite a bit. I don't know.
That would be speaking of this. Just quick sidebar.
No, you're fine.
How cool would it be now that they track your hours for your game, like in your PlayStation 5? How cool would it be to see how many hours you've played, like on a month-to-month thing,
or more granular? Like play sessions.
Actually, that would be cool. Because we could do that for what you've played this week.
They have the info from PlayStation 4 days. So
I would love to just see any sort of pie chart or I want to see all of my shit, all this wonderful data.
That would be cool to share every week.
They do those year-end things, so that's coming out soon, by the way, guys. About which game, and we have the information now, but they had that whole cool little year in gaming for you guys. Yeah. So I wish you did more of that, man. That stuff is fun.
Sorry, you were on your
No, that was good because that calmed me down because that was nice.
Okay.
So we put in. Let's call it 6. We did 6 hours for which heist was it? What's the grand?
We're robbing a bank.
Yeah, it's one of the bank heists. It's definitely not the first one. I want to say it's one of the newer ones, but it's the one where you have bikes at one point, and you're running down, and there's helicopters dropping people on you, and you got to run down alleyways and all sorts of other shit. But long story short, we're doing all this shit, and for $1 million split between all of us for in-game money in GTA.
I feel like we've definitely put in a solid 8 or 9.
Yeah, I wanted to say 10, but I didn't want to be doing big D
We've
math.
played a good amount.
But
had a lot of fun.
Number one, yeah, it was fun, but I want to say that Rockstar has created a conflict of interest for themselves with the money that you earn from this shit also being the same money that you pay money for, because I feel like that's the major holdup here, because with this amount of, and with how hard they make them, and with how many steps there are, I feel like for 10 hours of my time, we should each be getting $1 million at the end of this, minimum, if not more, to do what we want. Like, we shouldn't have to go keep grinding after we do these big heists. Like, one of my points in here was, like, Destiny. Like, how would you feel after 4 or 5 hours of raid, you get to the end, and they give you 15 coins, and, a sword that's base level, it's green instead of purple or gold, right? Like, people would be fucking pissed. And that's kind of how I feel about these things. Like, these should be the raids of GTA Online with how hard they've made. Because they've done a good job making them and designing the levels, and they're challenging, but I feel like the payout just isn't there. And then my second point was the focus on covering in stealth and trying to sneak around and avoid all these people and, like, not get shot and all this shit. And it's like, guys, is this Hitman or is this Grand Theft Auto? Because I distinctly remember wandering around in Vice City, putting in cheat codes, and just murdering people for hours and hours, and it was glorious. Like,
can you use cheat codes in GTA Online, or is it just
I doubt on online?
You definitely, you know what your cheat code on GTA Online is?
Yeah, money.
Your Visa card.
yeah, pretty much. And then one of my other complaints here was the refill on armor and snacks. Oof. Like why when you hit the L3 R3 in the reload menu, why doesn't that fucking refill everything? Like, holy Christ. Like, that has got to be one of the most annoying parts of that whole thing is, you're mid mission or whatever, and now we need to stop at Ammo Nation instead of just having it refilled and being able to keep pushing, right? So that thing all sucked. So that's what I had on that. So, but I wanted to hear what you guys thought, if anyone.
Yeah, so I'm relatively new. I've only done another heist with you guys. It's been a lot of fun playing through the heist. A lot of the fun for me. I don't really care about the payout at the end because I don't plan on playing GTA Online other than just once in a while we squad up with the four of us. But I was surprised when I saw the payout was $1 million. I thought it'd be way more than that at the end. I thought we'd be getting. I mean, not that I'd ever use the money. I didn't really care. And so then when we hit the minimum, I was just happy that it wouldn't go down to zero. Yeah, if that gives you the perspective on how I felt about it.
We were down at 550 at one point.
I was a little surprised it's that low. The restocking on armor now. My character is super low level, but I can't get decent armor, and I can only get so much armor, so I just burn through it right away. And the snacks all get burned through right away. So I'd like an easier way to restock that other than, you mentioned like stopping. Like you mentioned, D, if you could just
quick
I have
load it.
Some money from getting this free mark. I'd love to just buy this shit if I have to,
yeah.
but I can't. So we got stuck on the heist where we're trying to escape the bank, and we get shot 1 million times and burn through all of our health and our armor. And then finally got past that. Then we got to the bike sequence, which I'm not good at driving bikes. And we kept dying there, and we played that for probably the longest stretch, of us trying just to get to the rally point. Then we get to the rally point, and may have been a night of drinking or may not, whatever the case was. We couldn't figure out how to jump off the bridge, so you jumped off the side to parachute down and fell to your death. And me being the lemming that I was, apparently I fell right after you. Like, watch D, I'm going to go jump right after D, and used our 2 team deaths. I wish there was more than just two team deaths.
Yeah, I wish you could just Yeah.
Well, yeah. Why
Just dead,
can't
you're dead.
so again?
Well, I mean, like,
If
exactly.
the
So, like,
payout was 10 mil, why shouldn't we be able to use 100 grand to buy a revive?
yeah,
Like
there's a lot of times when
there
we'd get
could be much
close, and
better
then someone
mechanics.
would get clipped or hit a fence post, fly off. The cops would be immediately on you and immediately instant kill you. So you basically, I mean, you could be a few instances of where you could fall off
Or
your bike and make through okay, but a lot of
or
times
you could just be trying to save a friend's life by moving the SUV that it
I
was
was
stuck between that and a rock,
no,
and then you
we,
just try to
we
remove it with a bazooka.
we use the term between our friend group of carrying the G, and you were definitely carrying the G that night, Woodsy. So I was very, very proud of that, to call you my friend that night. Um, but yeah, so it's just these little gripes I have that I think that, if they made it a little bit smoother, it'd be even more fun. Because, like I mentioned, a lot of the fun is just the laughs we have of you
Oh
blowing
yeah.
yourself up to save me, or us talking trash to each other, or us shooting each other with rockets and things. And I feel like some of those things get lost sometimes when you have just these two lives to play with and little to no health and revives and
Recourse.
whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
Was he?
So many things about this game. So you guys are very right about the grind, both for RP, which is your on or your XP, right? Which is
Yeah, your
why
level. Yeah.
CJ can only
Buy
fucking
light
buy the
armor or
shitty
whatever.
armor,
Yeah.
yeah,
and D with the commentary about not being able to really make money in that game, and those two things have by far and away been like ever Grand Theft Auto 5 came out in September of 2013. The online came out in November, and up to from there's always something controversial about Grand Theft Auto launches, right?
Of
There's
course.
always something,
yeah.
and I remember it being Trevor's torture scene
Mm.
from the single player, right? And that was controversial, but that went away, and then the actual controversy that has existed ever since, like 4 months after GTA Online came out, has been how fucking difficult it is to make money and level up in that fucking online. It's insanely difficult, and people made very wrong assumptions about when all the heists finally started to come out and this, that, and the other thing, that you and these businesses that you could own or all this other shit would be okay. I'm gonna climb to the mountaintop, get this one business, do all these heists, and then I'm finally gonna be rich. Nope, not rich.
No, you
Like
just keep
I've never
grinding.
once felt
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
I started the week with like $13 or $14 million. I put in, a few $100,000 for the heist. I've I've and then I bought for the Kyle Island or whatever it is update. Um, I want to say I've put in like $8 million for that. So I'm basically down to like $6 million now from the 14 that I had. Which the 14 I had, I've gotten all the monthly stipends, at least since I think the summertime when
Yeah.
that deal with
Yeah.
PlayStation was announced. But um, to grind that much money would take forever in that game.
Yeah.
For fucking ever. Like, and to D's other point, where he doesn't like that there's this, they didn't segregate the currencies, and that was always the big hiccup and their problem to solve as to why the casino took forever to open, and then they
Mm.
finally thought of the idea they did, which I still disagree, because technically it is gambling at a certain point, like with real money.
That's correct.
And so I still disagree with the premise that it should be allowed, because they didn't differentiate between real world money and in-game money, and they should have cut it off right there and did one and the other.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it hasn't hurt them one lick, and it'd be nice if I could buy every car in the game, but there's a good incentive for me to buy their digital currency from the PlayStation Store.
Yeah.
To go and buy that shit. And, last year, from digital revenue, Grand Theft Auto 5, $600 billion. 1 year digital revenue from Grand Theft Auto 5. You know, they're. Did I say billion? No, but yeah, million. $600 million.
I was going to say, that sounded like a lot.
Yeah, no,
I thought so too, but I was like,
no,
okay.
There's no incentive to change it.
I said billion. I said billion. Yeah,
I understand that there's not a great incentive to change it, but if you did segregate that currency, that's where you have your cosmetic currency, like how Destiny does it with the Eververse store, and that's where you can get all your licensing deals. So if I want a certain car that has no in-game advantages because it's licensed, like what Rocket League does, right? Here's your Packers branded car, or here's an official, Jurassic Park car, just fucking whatever. Like, you can run all those licensing deals through that other currency, and you could still make that money, and then just let the in-game currency be, right? And then, like Woods, like you said, like, you avoid any legal ramifications on gambling your in-game money that you can't buy with real money in the casino, because I can go rob a bank, get $10 million, and then go gamble it all at the casino.
I think they would only be looking to do that, though, if they were all of a sudden going to start making premium cosmetic content, which
Correct.
they have never decided to do.
Nope.
But they haven't really had to, though, because...
No, they haven't had to. I'm just saying, as a consumer, I would like that model more.
Sure.
That's all.
And I agree. I agree that they would have to go that route, right?
You still have to give up what they're making now. But so I get it. That it's kind of silly to give that up to chase something new. So I get it.
Yeah, I just wish you could make more money in that game in an easier way, because we shouldn't have. I mean, we're grinded. I'm never gonna, for the money I got to spend on the Kaio mission with the submarine and all that other bullshit.
Make that back.
I'm never gonna make that shit back. Yeah. I'm never gonna recoup that. And you should be at least be able to like do that.
And let's be honest, like if you robbed a bank and only got $500,000, they wouldn't be sending Apaches after you shooting into residential neighborhoods.
Right.
Look at these slap nuts with 500K. Let's fuck it.
Yeah.
They're gonna kill themselves anyway. How do they make this far?
Now, if I managed to walk out of there with $500 million, it might be a take after me.
Right. I take those odds.
Right?
So that kind of wraps up our rant on this one. So now, Woods, you have a little rant of your own here about the PlayStation making friends.
Yeah, so it's just a little thing. So one of the things I've discovered that I hate a lot about the PlayStation, when they changed the message in party thing in 8.0, but I believe the friends list and everything is still on your PS4, and you could make your like custom lists of friends who play X games, right? But I can't find on my PlayStation 5 anywhere, because I had like the people I played Anthem with, the people I played Ace Combat with, the people I played Gran Turismo with, my BFFs, my family folder.
Only fans. Yep.
Right. Only fans.
That's you, dude. That sexy Santa hat there.
Sorry.
So I don't think that is on the PS5 anywhere, and it's really disappointing. Because
they've really fucked up parties and messages and groups.
I've actually really loved hopping in with randos for the most part on Ghost of Tsushima, and I've met a lot of really like 3 pretty cool dudes like playing with them throughout the course of the last week or so, and fuck if I know what 2 of their names were in my friends list. Like, I don't fucking remember anymore at all. So if I'll ever play with them again, I don't know. But if they were, I could have put them in a folder right away that said Ghost of Tsushima dudes. I could go and like look at that folder and at least see if they were like those dudes that I played with before we're online playing that game, so I could hook back up with them. You can't do that anymore, and it sucks.
Yeah.
Does it show anything on the player's profile about games you've played together? It doesn't. Nothing like that on there at all. Or
I guess I haven't.
Not that you want to go the extra step to like click on their profile and look, but is there any way to like look at games? Because I mean, I didn't know that they even had this little foldering system for your friends. You know, I know you could do like different
Oh,
group
really?
chats and whatnot, but I didn't know that. Well, I mean, I have like 12 friends. So I play single player games. It's basically you guys. I don't have really
Oh.
any non, you know,
Yeah, I made a folder with just you
actual.
guys. That's all I ever did
Yeah,
with
I didn't know
folders.
that was a thing, to be honest with you. Like I said,
I had a lot of folders.
it's kind of a cool feature. I kind of like that because there was a few people that I would play, Souls games with, and I'd add as a friend, and then I didn't even know you could do that. So that's kind of a neat feature, man.
And
I
it's
like, like
well, it's gone now. So
you know,
sucks. Just
interesting.
sucks.
Yeah. So while you're looking at that, we'll touch on some trophy time here to kind of keep the show moving along. This week I want to touch on Astro's Playroom.
You.
Now, this was the pack-in game that came with the PlayStation. There, I mean, there are some questions at how much trophies it would have. It does have a platinum. It is a very simple platinum to get, a 2 out of 10 difficulty with the 5 hours on the old PSN profiles.
Wow.
Mostly just collecting the artifacts and the puzzle pieces. So what Astro's Playroom is, it is 4 worlds you can go to. Each world is a generation. And so the levels are laid out where it's like the PlayStation string controllers attach things together. Each level is the triggers you jump on to get bounce yourself up and everything. So it's the most caring, loving game that they could put out. With PlayStation. A lot of the trophies are tied to collecting the artifacts. The artifacts are you can find a Move controller or a DualShock or a DualSense or whatever in the world is tied to. What I like about it though is, and the reason why I want to talk about it is because it is very, very, very easy to track which trophies you have and which ones you don't. You pull up the map, it shows you the 4 different worlds.
Yeah.
Within the 4 worlds, there's 4 different areas. Within those 4 areas, there's usually 2 or 3 collectibles. It shows you the ones you have, the ones you don't have.
Wow.
You can pull up the cards. They have this whole card concept. You pull up the card. You can click on the little YouTube tutorial video. It shows you right where to go. If you need to find this one artifact you can't find it.
Hang on. The card. So you bring up a card. Is that the card of the collectible you need? Is that what you mean?
It's like in the PlayStation 5, when you push a PlayStation button, it brings up these little tiles. I don't know if you remember it from the, and then you can go down and view that little tile, and within there it shows you a little how-to video. Like you can go to YouTube.
Got it.
Or I use PSN profiles and power picks, to read guides and how to get shit. But these little cards and videos do is it shows you, and you can have it up on screen and have it playing. It brings you to the exact point. You don't need to do any scrubbing on YouTube or anything. So
Wow.
it's like the fullest extent. A lot of these developers aren't going to put a lot of time in to put these little YouTube videos in there, but
The
it's
AAA
really
ones
pretty
will.
cool. Yeah, exactly. So I think any of the first party games, they'll show you like, hey, you're missing this piece. Here's how to get it and whatnot. So it's just easy and fun collectibles. I like the tiles, so I wanted to bring it up. Another thing I want to touch on here is there's a trophy called You Got a Trophy. So as you're going on the levels, you're collecting these various items and tchotchkes and artifacts, and then you go to this area called Labo, where all the collectibles kind of combine. And one of the trophies is for picking up a platinum trophy. So I wish I would have waited and done this smartly instead. I just kind of did it to get the trophy and get it done. But a lot of the trophy hunters out there are framing their last trophy so that the screenshot that pops of you holding up a platinum trophy. So I thought that was kind of a clever little shot. So I
So
always
you have
like
the
it
achievement unlocked. You got the
yeah,
platinum,
so
and
you
then
get the
it's you
little
holding the
platinum trophy
thing
that
up.
pops of you holding a platinum trophy.
Oh,
Yeah, so I thought
dude,
that'd be kind of cool.
that's
So
badass.
I wish I would have thought of that. Of course, I didn't. I always like when games frame the trophy screenshots. I hate games like hey, you popped a platinum, and it's like the black screen. Like, oh, man, fucking,
Or the
some
credits.
bullshit logo screen. Yeah, or the credits. My Demon Souls platinum, I had to get a spell, so I was talking to the guy doling out the spell, so I didn't get a cool screenshot for that one either. But yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to touch on here, I guess was the titles. So so that kind of is Astrobot. I don't have a lot to say about the trophies just because they're all pretty self-explanatory, quick and easy playthrough. But
Did
use
you
the guides
platinum it
if you're
yet?
stuck. Hannah almost platinumed it herself. So trophy hunter in training. She
There you
played
go.
most of the game. I sat next to her, and we keep going. She likes playing there like once every couple of days. She likes playing through the levels. She's getting pretty damn good at it. So
That's
I went
awesome.
through and did all like the little grindy trophies that she, and she didn't know what she was doing, but I just keep seeing trophies pop, and I'm like, I'm so proud of her. So, so yeah, so I did platinum it. It was my first one I platinum on the PlayStation 5, I think.
There
So
you go.
yeah. So all right. So the ever rotating segment, Big D. Big D. What you smoking?
Whatcha Smokin? Oh man, not as good as what Woods is smoking. But let's see. In the last week we did ribs. So I am firmly in the 3-2-1 camp. I don't know how Woods is feeling about that, but that's 3 hours under smoke, 2 hours under wrap, 1 hour back on the grill with sauce. And with ribs, that turns out just fucking bomb. I did, let's see, with the ribs we did salt, pepper, and then some ginger because I knew I was doing Asian. And then I still did, nope, I did the Korean barbecue that I found at Cub, our grocery store. Yep, that was the sauce I used for step 2 for the basically baking or steaming. And then that was also the glaze I used for step 3. Fucking delicious. Highly recommend. And then the other one I did a reverse sear ribeye. So we did ribeye salted 2 hours ahead of time for a dry brine, and then 225 on the smoker until the internal temp was 120. Then we pan seared it after, and then I sliced them dicks up and melted some provolone on there, and we did some cheesesteak. God damn, that was fucking fantastic. And man, I didn't even post pictures because I ate it too fast. The next day, I came back and I did cheddar cheese and hash browns and fried eggs, and I made a breakfast cheesesteak, and that was fucking killer. So,
Wow.
highly recommend. So
Would you get
that's
the
what I
smoker
got.
out at all this week or no?
I did actually twice. So I made smoked salmon,
Oh,
which
nice.
big old
Fucking love
fillet of
salmon.
smoked salmon, which was great. If for those who haven't smoked salmon before, it's a fairly easy smoking process, and there's not a lot of drama to it. You know, you just set it
Yeah, what's your temp on
pretty
salmon?
low.
Is that
Pretty low. I
200?
didn't go. I didn't go higher than I think 220.
Yeah.
And you only cook it up to like 145 or 155. I forget exactly.
Somewhere in there. Yep.
Yeah, and then it's done. But the prep work to do good smoked salmon is actually it takes time. It's not something you can just do really in one day.
What did you have to do?
Well, to properly prep and cure your salmon, what you should be doing is basically almost completely covering the thing in your dry rub, which usually consists of about half salt, half brown sugar, and then whatever other seasonings you want in it. And you let that cure in a very like a thick crust of it for like a day, and then or like overnight, right? Then in the morning you take it out and you rinse all that off, and then you have to let this, I forget what the term is called for it, but basically this film develops over the top of your salmon after a few hours after you rinse it off and then put it back in the fridge. And you want that film to develop, and then once it does, it's ready to smoke. And
I didn't
then
know
a lot of people I got one. It's a cedar plank.
Yep.
So you wet the cedar plank. You leave it soaking. Well, some people leave it smoking, soaking. Others don't. I soaked mine for about an hour or so, and then just basically you smoke and steam your salmon right on the inside of the smoker. It's really kind of cool. I didn't do that one for my first one, but for my second one I did. And I have to say my rub, second time to first time. First time I was like, this is too salty for me, that 50-50 mix. This time it was too sweet for me as I went much lighter on the salt. And I definitely went too light on the salt. It's a little sweeter of a smoked salmon, but that's okay. My favorite thing to have smoked salmon around for is bagels and lox. I just throw cream cheese on a bagel, put some smoked salmon out there along with capers and red onions, and I'm in breakfast heaven with a good cup of Joe. So that's one of my favorite breakfast meals that exist. So I love that. And then I also I smoked a chuck roast, but it was like 3.5 pounds.
That's right. You were going for poor man's burnt ends, right?
Yeah, well, I thought about going that route, but then I just cooked the whole thing.
Oh, you bailed. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, I can actually still technically make poor man's burnt ends out of them. But
so you just tried to slice it?
Yeah, I just tried to slice it like a brisket.
Okay.
And the flavor is real good. It developed a real good bark, but it got a little drier than I wanted to, and I didn't do any injections.
Oh, you didn't inject it. Oh man, chuck roast you got to ingest, man. That bitch doesn't have any fat on it.
Well, they didn't. Nobody online was doing it, but I hit two distinct stalls during the process of my cook. I stalled at like around 135 for some goddamn reason, and then stalled again, like basically trying to get up to 205. Yeah, I stalled from basically, I want to say low 90s to 204 for like 2 hours. It was ridiculous, and I had wrapped it in butcher's wrap at that point, and it was still stalling out. So I don't know. I think it was on the smoker for too long, and I didn't do an injection. So 2 errors I will correct next time. But I did make a good steak sandwich out of it with some horsey sour cream sauce, some onions, and pepperoncini on there. So that was really fucking good. But I'm gonna take the rest and chop it up real nice and fine, and then throw it in chili. There you go. That's all I'm gonna do with the rest of it. It's a little, and that's a good savor. Like Dee was saying, if you ever do a brisket or another piece of beef or whatever that gets dried out a little bit more than you would like it to, or if it doesn't all get consumed right away and then you try to nuke it, which you shouldn't do, but people do that and then it's dry. Put it in something like a chili or like a scramble or like even a queso dip, right? There's a lot of great ways to bring that meat back to really enjoyable life, as it were, and
not all the way back to
where
life.
Where the dryness is no longer an issue because it's not the defining characteristic of that one anymore. So.
Oh, is that Fulton?
Lonely Blonde.
Oh, attaboy. God, I fucking love that beer.
Yep.
What's
So Whatcha Smokin? So, and if any of you guys are hungry out there, we apologize. Now you're going to want to go out and smoke all your shit.
CJ, when are you getting a smoker?
I asked for it for Santa, so we'll see.
Oh!
On your nice list this year,
my God, CJ, can you Twitch live stream Christmas from your house? I want to see you get that smoker.
Here's me opening my box of coal that I got this year. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got yourself a PS5 and a brand new 65-incher in the last month and a half. You're doing
a new car too, like 3 months ago. So
you're having a good year. 2020 is not so bad.
Yeah.
It's been getting some nice toys this year. So but we'll see.
So when you were telling Miriam about the smokers, did she ask how much do they cost?
No, she knows. She knows if it costs enough for me to ask. She knows. She doesn't want to find. It's above the threshold of just a fucking I'm gonna buy it. Threshold. So
not $200.
Right, exactly. I'd like the TV. So Woodsy, pile o' shame. Are we going forward with Sniper Elite, or are we putting that bitch to bed?
No, I am. I am going forward with it. I played it a little bit. I was fucking around with my HDMI stuff the other day and accidentally disconnected my camera, and that's what was causing me fits, and I just didn't want to dick off of that today. But I was playing it today, and I have off all of this week of work, so I'm going to try to finish it up during the middle of the week, do at least one live stream so I could talk about it and get that fucking thing done with. But to be fair, because I don't know, what my next game coming down the pipe may be. Christmas is coming. I may have requested Spider-Man. I may have requested Demon Souls, but I told her, I was like, I don't want the physical games. Get me the PlayStation money cards.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm going to apply. It's because I don't want that.
I'm like I mentioned, I'm going to roll a new character, so I will roll a new character. Like I got to help my brother out, but
roll down those streets, which are woods.
Yes, sir.
I'll give you the guided tour of voluntary. Yeah. Is it just 2?
So what?
Can you just roll 2 deep in that game, or can you roll deep?
You have to ask this guy. I think it's 2 max.
I think you can roll 2 guys. You can have 3 people. In fact, I know you can because I was trying to help this one. I was trying to help this one random chump, and but with this game, like other games you've played, you get summoned to that person's world. So if we got summoned to Woodsy's world, we need to go to D's world and do that world too. So
that's okay. We had to do that with one of my favorite games. The Remnant.
We still have to play the expansion. It got voted best expansion.
Yeah, shout out Remnant, best expansion.
Is that what you guys were talking about earlier? I think I had that count blocked. I think.
How was that expansion? Since you love that game so much, how much have you played that expansion?
None.
Really?
Pile of shame.
Can
I downvote things on your pile of shame?
But speaking of the pile of shame,
there's a big sale tomorrow.
For those who follow Wario64 or one of the other mini Twitter accounts who post news about sales, there is a rumored to be giant, multi-week-long sale coming up tomorrow, dropping tomorrow on your PlayStation Store. So
the years are usually pretty big. No, it's just a question of what percentage off. Because I feel like they've been kind of even a little stingy with that percentage off lately.
25,
15% off.
That's that nice.
Man.
Yeah.
However, $40 is my price point on Ghost. So if it shows up in there for $40,
it will be, and you will get it.
Anything
I want to start raiding.
Is there a raid on Ghost?
Yeah, it's 4
raids,
man.
How many dudes can you roll deep on Ghost?
4.
It's 4 for raids, or you have to do the survival mode, which is fine, but
okay, $40.
I'd rather
$40 my price point. I just got a Platinum Miles Morales, Platinum Persona 5 Royale, which is like a $200 game. I realized I had Cuphead. I got to beat Cuphead. So we got some time.
You know what? We don't even need to debate about who's going to win the Raw Cuts Play a Hater of the Year award.
Yeah,
because clearly
he hates playing video games.
With other people.
Yeah, right.
I did tell Woodsy I will bump Ghost up to the top of the pack now that I've started. So,
you'll like that game.
I'm looking forward to it. So
you just put that bitch on hard so that you cry once in a while, and then you'll feel right at home.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So with that concludes our 23rd episode of the Raw Cuts Gaming Podcast. We thank you, the listener, for turning into all of our uncut takes in the video game podcast sphere. We hope you join us each and every week for more Raw Cuts Gaming. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can tell us how much you hate us. We encourage you to reach out. The best place to get a hold of us is Twitter @RawCutsGaming. If you want to see the podcast recording, as we alluded to earlier, this week you want to see the Honest, you want to see the Pack, and you want to see the Naked Gamer. Check out our YouTube channel, Raw Cuts Gaming. So D, if people want to get a hold of, I'm sorry, I forgot the most important, lively, popping off place we got, Gmail. You want to reach out to us?
Send us that porn.
You want to send us questions?
Sign us up for all your free daily porn links and pictures.
rawcutsgaming@gmail.com. D, where can people get a hold of you?
@NakedGamer84 on the Twitter birds. And @noob with the zeros _NakedGamer on the Twitchers.
People want to see your hot takes, your Twitter beef makes.
Your Upper Decker Lakes.
Google Upper Decker with the 17th picture on there. It's in college taking shit in Upper Decker. Throwing it out there.
Lies, fake news. Anyway, Woods_or_wads with a Z.
And if you want to find me, your resident trophy hunting host, you can find me on Twitter at CJ Reindl.
And very soon on Go to Tsushima multiplayer.
Yeah. All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bob.
Tomorrow. We'll see you up tomorrow. Bye, guys.